Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into something, well, really fundamental to how we all navigate life: resilience and emotional intelligence.
Yeah, two really big topics.
Absolutely. And we've gathered a pretty diverse set of sources for you. Everything from practical guides like helpguide.org and Skills for Care to some deeper explorations from EM Home and Speaks.
Plus academic stuff from Wikipedia, McGraw Center, and even some, real-world takes from Reddit, which should be interesting.
Exactly. So the mission here, for you listening, is to get beyond just the buzzwords. We want to really unpack what these terms mean, why they're so crucial when life throws pressure at us.
And crucially, find some practical things you can actually do.
Right. Concrete strategies you can use to strengthen these skills. We want you leaving this feeling, well, informed and empowered, not just buried in theory.
Definitely. It's about connecting the dots, seeing how this stuff plays out day to day, using all these different perspectives we've gathered.
Okay, let's kick off with resilience. Skills for Care has a really straightforward definition I liked. They basically say it's our ability to cope when we're under pressure.
Coping effectively. And they tie it straight to having a positive outlook and using good management strategies.
Yeah, and what I found useful was how they describe the behaviors of resilient people. It's not about being like superhuman or anything.
No, not at all. It's more grounded. Things like valuing your work, having good relationships,
being able to solve problems, keeping perspective, even having a sense of humor when things are tough. That last one feels important.
It really is. And Skills for Care quickly links this to real benefits, especially in demanding jobs like social care. They're saying resilience isn't just nice to have, it's a buffer.
A buffer against stress, yeah. They flag stress as a huge cause of work-related illness.
And critically, they connect an individual worker's resilience directly to the quality of care they can actually provide. If you handle pressure better, you support others better. Simple as that, really.
And it's obviously not just about work, is it? Skills for Care really hammers home that link between resilience and just general mental well-being.
They point out that the stuff we kind of know is good for us, connecting with people, being active, trying new things, mindfulness.
Those aren't just separate wellness activities. They actively build resilience.
Exactly. It's all interwoven, like building a strong foundation, right? These positive actions make you better equipped to handle the inevitable bumps in the road.
Which brings us neatly to thinking about what we're being resilient against. Pressure and stress.
Right. And Skills for Care makes a useful distinction here. There's that immediate in-the-moment pressure. Feel your heart race, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then there's the other kind of the long-term grinding pressure that can turn into chronic stress.
Which has all those nasty effects, feeling tense, irritable, anxious. Stuff many of us probably recognize, unfortunately.
So how do we cope with that immediate pressure? Skills for Care suggests some mindfulness techniques, like just noticing the feeling.
Just noticing it, yeah. Acknowledging it without judging yourself for feeling that way. That creates a bit of mental space, doesn't it?
It does. It stops you from being completely swept away. They also mention distraction techniques, like consciously shifting focus.
Breaking negative thought cycles. That feels very practical, something you could try right now.
And then there's the more, let's say, formal practice of mindfulness. Help Guide goes into more detail there.
Yeah, they describe it as that state of focused awareness. Paying attention to thoughts, feelings, sensations, but without judgment. Gently bringing your mind back when it wanders.
Which sounds simple, but not always easy in practice.
True. But Help Guide clarifies that basically all mindfulness techniques are a form of meditation. They give examples like focusing on your breath or a word.
Letting thoughts just drift past. They even have specific guided meditations for things like uncertainty or sleep.
And did you see the urge surfing technique they mentioned?
Yes, that was fascinating. For handling cravings, right? Observing the physical sensations as the urge comes.
Knowing it'll peak and fade, like a wave. If you just watch it instead of fighting it, write it out.
It's that acceptance piece again, isn't it? Accepting the present moment, which is key to mindfulness and ultimately resilience.
Absolutely. Now, Skills for Care also outlines 7 characteristics often found in resilient people. This gives us a kind of roadmap for development.
Yeah, these were really interesting. Managing thoughts and feelings, tolerance for ambiguity, being okay with not knowing.
Realistic optimism.
Yeah.
Thinking accurately, empathy, self-efficacy, that belief in yourself.
And being open to new things. It covers a lot of ground. Let's dig into accurate thinking a bit.
Right.
They talk about automatic negative thoughts, ANTs.
Ah, yes, the ANTs. Such a useful concept. Skills for Care gives that example.
Mm-hmm.
A colleague walks past, ignores you. What's your first thought?
Right. The pattern A is the immediate negative jump. They're annoyed with me or whatever. Pattern B is more about maybe they didn't see me, maybe they're preoccupied.
Exactly. And the task they suggest is to actively catch those A and T's and challenge them.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is that really true? What else could be going on?
Which flows right into realistic optimism. It's not about pretending everything's perfect.
No, it's balancing positivity with acknowledging the reality of a situation and consciously reframing negative thoughts into something more constructive. Skills for Care even has an exercise for that.
Very practical. And then the problem-solving bit. They boil it down. Either change the situation, if you can.
Or change your response to it, if you can.
Oh.
It puts the power back in your hands, doesn't it? Rather than feeling helpless.
Definitely. They also stress building support networks and continuous learning as longer-term resilience strategies.
And something super relevant today, work-life balance.
Oh, yeah. Skills for Care really emphasizes setting boundaries, knowing your limits, actually scheduling time for enjoyable things.
It's that reminder that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for staying resilient. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
So true. Okay, let's pivot now to the other side of the coin. Emotional intelligence, or EI.
Right. EM Ideal Home defines this as basically understanding and managing your own emotions, and also recognizing and understanding the emotions of others.
And the key parts they mention are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Makes sense.
What I found really interesting was the EI versus IQ comparison. They argue IQ is about cognitive ability, but EI is crucial for success in, well, life relationships, work, health.
And importantly, EI isn't fixed. It's learnable. You can get better at it.
That's hugely empowering, isn't it? It's a skill you can develop. EM Ideal Home also touches on understanding basic emotions like anger or feeling down and how they impact us. Knowing the emotion is the first step to managing it.
And to know them, you have to recognize them first. EM Ideal Home says pay attention to the physical signs, the actual feelings that come up.
Being honest with yourself about what you're experiencing, even if it's uncomfortable.
They even briefly mention the brain chemistry neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine.
Yeah, how imbalances there can affect our mood. Dopamine for motivation, serotonin for mood regulation, norepinephrine for stress response. It's a reminder there's a biological component to our feelings. They mention the limbic system, the emotional brain.
Right. And they bring in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, as a tool alongside EI.
Sort of using NLP to understand the links between our thoughts, language, and behavior so we can shift our emotional responses in more helpful ways. It's about becoming aware of those patterns.
Which leads us nicely into empathy. EM Ideal Home calls this a cornerstone of EI.
Absolutely. Understanding others' emotions, putting yourself in their shoes, crucial for connection.
They give some good practical tips too, like really paying attention when someone talks, active listening.
Asking insightful questions, not just nodding along. Their example conversation about the friend with partner troubles really showed that.
Yeah, and trying to understand different viewpoints, using your imagination, tuning into what others might need or be feeling. It's an active process.
And expanding outwards from individuals, they talk about social awareness, being conscious of the bigger picture, different backgrounds, different perspectives.
Understanding that people see the world differently based on their experiences, and using that understanding in how we interact.
Which connects directly to relationship management. This is EI in action, right? Leadership, influencing, understanding relationship dynamics, just interacting effectively.
Using positive language, avoiding judgment. Those felt like key takeaways for managing relationships well.
Definitely. Now let's switch gears slightly to motivation and self-regulation. Both EM Ideal Home and the Reddit thread had some interesting things to say here.
Yeah, EM Ideal Home mentioned techniques like meditation, which we've touched on, but also some more intense ones, like cold showers.
Yeah. The idea that a jolt of cold water can energize you and build mental toughness. They also mentioned intermittent fasting for mental energy, with caveats, of course.
And the super early wake-up call, like 4:30 a.m. for discipline and focus time, that's dedication.
It is. But medication comes up again as a core practice training focus, changing the brain, boosting calm, creativity, memory, reducing negativity.
Health Guide also emphasized meditation, didn't they? And EM Ideal Home gives a basic technique to get started.
And that Reddit thread, the one about going from rock bottom to disciplined, that offered a really grounded take.
I liked that. The emphasis on building habits through willpower and consistency, not just waiting for motivation to strike. That idea of the slight edge, small, consistent improvements.
Totally. And the concept of flow activities came up there too. Getting so absorbed in something challenging but doable that you lose track of time. That's seen as more fulfilling than just chasing pleasure.
The Reddit user also mentioned looking after your physical health as a foundation and reducing super stimuli, maybe too much social media, for better dopamine balance. And using a bullet journal for tracking. Practical stuff.
Yeah, really grounded advice. Now, what about when emotions do feel overwhelming, even if you're working on EI? EMIDL Home has some troubleshooting tips.
Like ways to bring yourself back to the present moment. Using music, going for a walk, nature, meditation again, grounding techniques.
Exactly. And they stress practicing EI daily. Consciously connecting with people, using empathy, nurturing relationships, genuinely caring.
And that crucial difference between reacting impulsively versus responding thoughtfully, taking that pause.
And pause is everything. They gave an example of responding to criticism with EI, acknowledging, seeking to understand, not just getting defensive. That's emotional freedom, really.
Okay, something else many people experience. Imposter syndrome. SpaceX tackled this one.
Yeah, yes. That feeling of being a fraud, doubting your own competence despite success, fearing you'll be found out.
They list the signs: self-doubt, attributing success to luck, fear of failure, perfectionism. Sound familiar to anyone?
Probably. And SpaceX highlights how workplaces like HR or L&D departments can help by educating people, fostering recognition, encouraging support networks. It's not just your problem.
Good point. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Wikipedia gave us that big historical view on personal development.
Right, going back to Confucius, self-cultivation and the foundation for everything else.